The hum of the jet engines vibrated through the sleek cabin as Sarah, the flight attendant, planted her feet firmly on the plush carpet, her voice slicing through the air like a cold wind off Lake Michigan. "I'm asking you one last time. Move to the back of the plane, or I'll have security haul you off," she barked, her tone sharp enough to cut glass, laced with disdain that made the passengers' heads turn. At 32, Sarah's crisp uniform hugged her frame, her auburn hair pinned tight, but her authority felt brittle, teetering on the edge of desperation. Across from her, sitting in a leather seat that gleamed under the soft cabin lights, was Jade Carter, a 41-year-old black woman whose calm radiated like a quiet storm. Jade's dark eyes met Sarah's without a flinch. "I've already told you I'm not moving," she said, her voice steady as the Mississippi River. Smooth yet unyielding, a lifeline of strength in the face of public shame. The words hung heavy in the 50-foot-long cabin, 30,000 feet above the rolling plains of Kansas, where the private jet had taken off from Wichita just moments ago. Passengers shifted uncomfortably, their champagne flutes clinking faintly, eyes darting between the two women. Jade's tailored gray suit hugged her frame with understated grace, but her heart thudded beneath it. Humiliation stung like a slap, yet pride kept her rooted. Sarah's sneer deepened, her pale cheeks flushing with irritation, oblivious to the weight of her misjudgment. No one could have guessed that Jade, this poised woman they dismissed as powerless, held a secret that would soon unravel the fragile threads of Sarah's control. The air crackled with tension, a storm brewing at cruising altitude, and Jade's quiet defiance promised a reckoning no one saw coming. Jade Carter sat motionless, her hands resting calmly on the armrest of her plush seat, the leather cool against her skin as the private jet soared 35,000 feet above the sprawling fields of Nebraska. At 41, she carried herself with a quiet elegance that belied the storm raging inside. Humiliation burned like a slow ember, stoked by Sarah's venomous words echoing through the 50-foot cabin. The flight attendant's hostility had stripped Jade bare before the other passengers, their whispers buzzing like flies over the soft hum of ambient music. Yet Jade's face remained a mask of serenity, her deep brown eyes steady, reflecting a strength forged in countless unseen battles. "I'm not moving," she'd said again, her voice a low melody, soothing as a summer breeze over shores of Lake Erie, where she'd grown up in Cleveland. That calm wasn't weakness. It was a steel rod running through her spine, unbowed by Sarah's condescension. At 32, Sarah towered over her, arms crossed, her sharp features twisted with irritation, oblivious of the power she'd misjudged. Jade's heart ached, not for herself, but for the indignity of being seen as less in a space that gleamed with gold accents and exclusivity 12 miles above the earth. Passengers sipped their drinks, some averting their eyes, others staring with thinly veiled curiosity. Their silence amplified her isolation. But beneath her tailored gray suit, Jade's pulse thrummed with defiance, a quiet roar building in her chest. She wouldn't crumble, not here, not now. Sarah's sneer faltered for a split second, sensing something unshakable in Jade's stillness, a force she couldn't name. The cabin lights flickered faintly, casting shadows over Jade's composed figure, hinting at a revelation simmering just beneath her surface, a truth that would soon turn this gilded cage upside down. The private jet gleamed like a silver bullet under the blazing afternoon sun, parked on the tarmac of a swanky airstrip just outside Austin, Texas, where the air shimmered with 90-degree heat. Inside, the 50-foot cabin was a playground for the elite, plush leather seats softer than a longhorn's hide, gold accents sparkling like a rapper's grill, and a vibe so exclusive you'd think the plane came with its own VIP bouncer. At 35,000 feet, it was less a flight and more a rolling penthouse party, complete with champagne flutes clinking and a playlist of smooth jazz that could charm a rattlesnake. Passengers strutted aboard, their designer luggage rolling behind them like loyal pets, each one acting like they owned the sky. Jade Carter, 41, slipped into the circus with the grace of a seasoned ringmaster, her tailored gray suit screaming understated cool while she dodged the spotlight. Meanwhile, Sarah, the 32-year-old flight attendant, worked the room like a game show host, flashing toothy grins at some and icy stares at others. Guess who drew the short straw? The jet's sleek design promised a 500-mile, an hour joyride, and the crew buzzed around, serving drinks faster than a bartender at a Friday night honky-donk. One guy in a cowboy hat scrolled his phone, probably tweeting about his rough day, in the lap of luxury, while a lady with a diamond the size of a golf ball sipped bubbly like it was water. Jade settled into her seat, her calm vibe a stark contrast to the glitzy chaos. Her mind already miles ahead in Dallas, where her empire waited. Little did this high-flying crowd know, the real entertainment was about to take off. And it wasn't the in-flight movie. Sarah strutted down the aisle of the private jet, like she was auditioning for the lead in Airplane Boss. The musical, her starched uniform crisp enough to cut through the 50-foot cabin's plush vibes. At 32, she ruled this flying palace 35,000 feet above Oklahoma's red dirt plains with a clipboard and a smirk, her hazel eyes sizing up passengers like a bouncer at a Nashville honky-donk. She flashed a megawatt grin at Tom and Ellie Harper, a silver-haired duo in their late 60s who oozed old money charm. "Well, howdy again, Mr. and Mrs. Harper. Y'all are practically family up here," she chirped, handing Tom a coffee strong enough to wake a coma patient, while Ellie unpacked her knitting needles like she was about to craft a sweater mid-flight. Then came Jade Carter, 41. Sitting cool as a cucumber in her gray suit, her vibe more mysterious than a plot twist in a summer blockbuster. Sarah's smile vanished faster than a Texas twister, replaced by a curt, "Welcome aboard," that sounded like she'd rather toss Jade out at 500 miles an hour. Jade clocked the switcheroo, her sharp eyes catching Sarah's game. She was playing favorites like a reality TV judge, and Jade wasn't on the VIP list. The Harpers got the red carpet treatment, while Jade might as well have been hauling luggage in coach. Sarah's prejudice was as subtle as a bullhorn at a library. Her whole "I run this show" attitude built on quick-draw assumptions about who belonged in this gilded skybox. Jade stayed chill, sipping the air of exclusivity, while Sarah flounced off, oblivious that her little power trip was about to crash harder than a stunt plane in a B-movie. The cabin hummed, and the real drama was just warming up. The tension in the 50-foot cabin thickened, like a pot of gumbo simmering over a Louisiana bayou fire, 35,000 feet above the patchwork fields of Arkansas. Sarah, the 32-year-old flight attendant with strut like a runway model, zeroed in on Jade Carter with the precision of a hawk spotting dinner. "You're in the wrong seat, hon," she drawled, her voice dripping with sass, so thick you could spread it on toast, her 5'6" frame looming over Jade like she was about to star in her own courtroom drama. Jade, 41, leaned back in her leather throne, cool as a jazz riff in a New Orleans club, and fired back. "You might want to check your list before you start reshuffling the cast." Sarah's eyebrows shot up like bottle rockets, her control freak mask slipping as she snapped, "I know who belongs here, and it ain't you." The cabin turned into a live theater, passengers gawking like they'd paid $50 a ticket. Some whispering, some pretending to scroll their phones at 500 miles an hour. "Why doesn't she just move?" muttered a guy in a Stetson, sipping his bourbon, while a lady with pearls clutched her purse like Jade was about to rob the joint. Sarah, doubling down like a Vegas gambler, barked, "Jenny, get her to the back, now!" Jenny, a 25-year-old rookie with wide eyes and a ponytail, froze like a deer in headlights, caught between Sarah's glare and Jade's unshakable calm. "Think twice about this," Jade warned, her voice smooth as Mississippi mud pie, hinting at a plot twist Sarah couldn't script. Sarah waved her off like a pesky fly, clueless that the stakes were about to flip faster than a flapjack at county fair. The jet purred on, and the audience held its breath. The jet's engines hummed like a rock band tuning up backstage, 35,000 feet above the golden plains of Missouri, when the curtain finally lifted on the real show. Sarah, the 32-year-old flight attendant with chip on her shoulder bigger than the Gateway Arch, had pushed her luck one too many times, and Jade Carter, 41, was done playing the underdog. The cabin, a 50-foot runway of luxury, buzzed with whispers as Jade's calm cracked open like a piñata, spilling out the jaw-dropping truth. She owned this flying palace. Cue the gasps, louder than a touchdown cheer at a Chiefs game, as the pilot, a grizzled 50-year-old named Mike, stormed out of the cockpit, his face pale as a Midwest winter. "Sarah, she's the boss of this bird," he barked, pointing at Jade like she just won the lottery on live TV. Sarah's smirk melted faster than ice cream in a Kansas City summer, her 5'6" frame shrinking under the weight of her epic fumble. Passengers popped up like prairie dogs, phones out, filming the meltdown like it was a season finale of sky-high drama. A guy in a beyond-the-lookout tie choked on his whiskey, muttering, "Well, I'll be damned," while a gal with a teased-up hairdo squeaked, "She owns the plane?" Jade stood, her gray suit sharp as a razor, exuding boss vibes that could have run a Fortune 500 from 500 miles up. Sarah stammered, her control vanishing like a magician's rabbit. But the spotlight was Jade's now. Jenny, the 25-year-old sidekick, gaped like she'd seen Elvis board the flight. The jet soared on, but the power flip hit harder than a 50-yard pass. Sarah's reign was over, and Jade was calling the shots, ready to drop the mic at 30,000 feet. The cabin of the private jet, a 50-foot slice of airborne luxury cruising 35,000 feet above the rolling hills of Kentucky, turned into a circus ring faster than you can say, "Hold my bourbon." Sarah, the 32-year-old flight attendant who'd been strutting like a peacock, crossed the line when she hauled off and slapped Jade Carter across the face. Whack! The sound bouncing off the gold-trimmed walls like a gunshot at a derby race. Gasps erupted louder than a thunderclap over Louisville, passengers clutching their pearls and whiskey glasses as a 5'6" tyrant's reign imploded. Jade, 41, cool as a mint julep on a porch swing, didn't even flinch, just straightened up, her gray suit still pristine despite the water Sarah had accidentally dumped on her earlier like a bad slapstick routine. "You're done," Jade said, her voice slicing through the chaos like a hot knife through butter, firing Sarah on the spot with the authority of a queen dethroning a jester. Then enter stage left. 2 cops, badges gleaming, storming in from the tarmac after an unscheduled landing in Lexington, slapping cuffs on Sarah faster than a pit crew changes tires at the Indy 500. "Assault a no-no, ma'am," one growled, hauling her off as she squawked like a chicken caught in a fox's jaws. Jenny, the 25-year-old rookie, stood slack-jawed, while Tom Harper, 68, half stood muttering, "Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle." The guy in the beyond-the-lookout tie filmed it all, probably live-streaming to his 500 followers back in Tulsa. Jade's calm held firm, a 500-mile-an-hour boss move that flipped the script. Sarah's crown hit the floor, and the jet's real ruler took center stage, leaving the crowd roaring for an encore at 30,000 feet. The private jet's 50-foot cabin, still buzzing from Sarah's epic crash and burn, hung at 35,000 feet above the sprawling forests of North Carolina, like a reality show set begging for a season renewal. Jade Carter, 41, rose from her leather throne like a superhero shedding her Clark Kent disguise, her gray suit crisp despite the chaos that had unfolded faster than a NASCAR pileup. "Folks, I'm sorry you had to see that," she said, her voice smooth as a Carolina moonshine run, addressing the wide-eyed passengers like a late-night host calming a rowdy crowd. "Everyone deserves respect up here, not just the ones with the fanciest hats." The guy in the BOLO tie nodded like he'd just won a bet, while Ellie Harper, 66, paused her knitting to clap. Those needles could have doubled as drumsticks with the applause rippling to the 500-mile-an-hour luxury liner. Jade's authority hit harder than a linebacker at a Tar Heel game, her calm vibe turning the jet into her personal stage. "That's not how we roll on my plane," she added, dropping the mic. Figuratively, of course, though someone should have handed her one for style points. Passengers swapped looks, some still filming like they were auditioning for Sky Drama. The movie, phones out faster than paparazzi at a Charlotte premiere. Jenny, the 25-year-old rookie, beamed like she'd just met her idol, while Tom Harper, 68, muttered, "She's got guts. I'll give her that." Jade's words landed like a 50-yard touchdown pass. Clear, firm, and with a swagger that said she wasn't just a boss, she was a whole dang playbook. The cabin hummed, the engines purring as the jet soared on, but Jade's stand-up routine had reset the vibe. Respect was a new in-flight special, and she was serving it hot. The jet's engines roared softly as it cut through the clouds at 35,000 feet, hovering above the patchwork fields of Indiana. The 50-foot cabin now a classroom where Jade Carter, 41, had just taught a masterclass in dignity. Sarah's handcuffed exit still lingered like smoke from a 4th of July firework, but Jade's gray suit stayed spotless, her poise unshaken as she turned the chaos into a lesson etched in the air at 500 miles an hour. Passengers clutched their phones, filming her every move like citizen journalists at a Hoosier rally, the footage already racing toward viral fame faster than a sprint car at the Indy 500. Later, in a sleek Chicago studio, Jade sat under bright lights, her calm gaze locking with the interviewers. "What's the takeaway, Miss Carter?" he asked, leaning in. "Respect isn't tied to a title or a bank account," she said, her voice steady as the steel beams of the Willis Tower. "It's about standing tall in who you are." The words hit like a quiet thunderclap, a truth Sarah had missed when she judged Jade by her skin instead of her spine. Back on the jet, Tom Harper, 68, nodded thoughtfully, his newspaper forgotten, while Ellie, 66, whispered, "She's right, you know." Jenny, 25, watched in awe, learning more in 5 minutes than in 5 years of training. The lesson wasn't just for them. It was for everyone who'd see the video, already clocking 1 million views from Terre Haute to Tampa. Jade's stand wasn't about revenge. It was a mirror held up to prejudice, showing how assumptions crash harder than a 50-ton jet on a bad landing. The cabin settled, the hum of flight steady, but her message soared higher. Respect is earned by character, not bestowed by bias. Weeks later, the private jet gleamed anew on a tarmac outside Seattle, Washington, its 50-foot cabin humming at 35,000 feet above the evergreen forests of the Pacific Northwest, a far cry from the drama that unfolded before. Jade Carter, 41, boarded with the same quiet grace, her gray suit traded for a sharp emerald blazer, a symbol of the fresh start she'd sparked. The new crew, led by 38-year-old Mia, greeted her with a warmth that could melt a Puget Sound fog. "Welcome aboard, Miss Carter. It's an honor," Mia said, her smile genuine as she handed Jade a coffee brewed perfection, the jet cruising at 500 miles an hour toward Portland. The air felt lighter, the service smoother, a 180-degree shift from Sarah's reign of bias, proof that Jade Stan had rewired the system. Passengers settled in, their chatter free of tension, a lesson in respect now baked into the flight plan. Back in that viral interview, Jade's words still echoed. Luxury is nothing if it's built on tearing others down. She'd turned a 50-yard fumble into a touchdown for change, showing that true power lies in lifting everyone up, not just the right faces. Tom Harper, 68, tipped his hat from across the aisle, while Ellie, 66, knit quietly, both nodding at the shift they'd witnessed. Jenny, now 25 and bolder, moved with purpose, her training reshaped by Jade's example. The jet's engines purred, but the real engine was Jade's vision. Prejudice had no seat here, and every passenger, from Boise to Boston, would feel it. As the horizon stretched out 12 miles below, Jade gazed to the window, her quiet triumph a lesson carved in the sky. Real success isn't about wealth or wings. It's about building a world where respect doesn't need a boarding pass.